think about the generation and say that they want to make it a better place for our children and children's, so that they know it's a better world for them. And I believe they can make it. children. Hear the word we live in. Save it for our children. Hear the word we live in. Save it for our children. Hear the word we live in. Save it for our children. Hear the word we live in. Save it for our children. Hear the word we live in. Save it for our children.
Thank you once again for that wonderful presentation.
Your Excellency, Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency, Madam Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome you to Addis Ababa as we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. This occasion invites reflection on how multilateral institutions must adapt to the realities of a changing world. 80 years ago, after a devastating global war, the United Nations was created out of necessity. It reflected the understanding that peace, dignity, and stability require nations to work together, anchored in shared principle. That vision was captured in the Charter through a commitment of human dignity, justice, equality, and social progress. Ethiopia was part of that founding moment. Our history with the international system has been principled and deeply tested. We experienced firsthand the failure of the League of Nations when collective security proved ineffective. Yet that experience did not turn us away from engagement. Instead, it taught us to be realistic about institutions without becoming cynical about cooperation. It also left a lasting lesson. Institutions retain legitimacy only when they are able to act when tested. Excellencies, trust between nations is under pressure. Conflicts are becoming more complex, and too often there is a gap between commitments and implementation. The expectations placed upon multilateral institutions continue to grow in both scale and complexity. The United Nations must continue to evolve to become more representative, more equitable, and more reflective of today's realities. Africa, in particular, should have a strong voice in decisions that affect its future. Broader representation within the international system will strengthen its effectiveness and credibility. Africa is ready to contribute, to take on greater responsibility, and to help build a stronger and a more credible global order. At the same time, the international community must act with greater urgency on peace and security, development, climate, and the rapid transformation driven by technology. These challenges are increasingly interconnected and require deeper coordination, stronger partnerships, and meaningful international cooperation. The task ahead is clear: to renew and adapt the multilateral system for the demands of our time. I want to express my sincere appreciation to my brother, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, for his years of dedicated service, for his steady commitment, and for his genuine engagement with Africa. His leadership has been deeply valued. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank my dear sister, Madam Amina, for assisting my brother and for helping him to realize this great vision. Excellencies, today, as we unveil this commemorative stamp, we honor all those who have dedicated their lives to the ideals of the United Nations. Ethiopia will remain a committed partner in the work ahead. We believe in a multilateral system that is fair, inclusive, and result-oriented. We will continue to play our part in shaping what comes next. In today's world, cooperation remains the most reliable path to peace, stability, and a shared progress. I thank you.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, my dear friend, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the United Nations family, I thank Prime Minister Ahmed for hosting this event and the people of Ethiopia for their warm welcome. The commemorative stamp, a series, will be launched today, not only a tribute to the United Nations on its 80th anniversary. It is also a reminder of the close partnership between Ethiopia and the organization, a partnership with roots that stretch back to our earlier days. Ethiopia is one of the original 51 nations that signed the United Nations Charter in San Francisco in 1945. And today, it remains a crucial champion of multilateralism and international cooperation. And I want to pay tribute to Ethiopia. Ethiopia represents an old civilization. And when one sees the success of the development in Ethiopia, the fastest growing economy in the world, I have to say that those that have a solid past tend to have a solid future. Ethiopia was able to preserve its independence when most of the continent was divided by colonial powers. And again, that was possible thanks to the strength of the civilization that Ethiopia represented. And Ethiopia has been, in the United Nations, a champion for all other African countries to become independent. Not only you were able to represent Africa in the signing of the Charter, but you have been working hard to make sure that all African states could become members of the United Nations after gaining their independence with your support. Now, this very city of Addis Ababa that I visit at least once a year, and I never recognize it. It is changing with the speed of light. But this city has become one of the most significant global diplomatic centers in Africa. As home to the headquarters of the African Union, and as the continent's third largest United Nations duty station, hosting one of our largest country teams in the world. For decades, Ethiopian women and men have served with distinction as uniformed and civilian personnel in United Nations peace operations, agencies, funds and programs around the globe. Collectively, they have helped protect civilians, build stability, and strengthen peace in some of the most difficult and dangerous places in the world. And our partnership goes both ways. The United Nations has been, and we want to be, a committed partner to Ethiopia. And a partner whose theme here has as only objective to serve the Ethiopian people and to make sure that we support the strategy of the Ethiopian government. Supporting national and regional efforts to consolidate peace and spurring development, delivering of humanitarian assistance in times of need, but helping build institutions that can serve and represent all Ethiopians. At the same time, we stand firmly with the people of Ethiopia and the people of Africa in their calls for a just representation across the institutions of global governance. And this means reforming the Security Council to reflect today's world and to redress the historical injustice against Africa by making its permanent representation a priority to enhance the Council's legitimacy and effectiveness. Africa was a double victim of colonialism to which Ethiopia was able to escape. First, because of the impact of colonialism itself, and second, because as the institutions of governance that exist in today's world, from the UN to Bretton Woods and several others, were created when most of the African continent was still under colonial domination. But fortunately, Africa was represented since the beginning by Ethiopia. And with Ethiopia, you have a very legitimate claim for the need for the UN to reform and for an African presence in permanent members of the Security Council to become a reality. But also, claiming the need for a reform of the global financial institutions through the increased participation and representation of developing countries, in particular Africa, across decision-making processes. We see African countries with all the problems that exist in parts of the continent, but we see African countries today in the front line of economic development. Ethiopia as the most advanced one. But other African countries are showing remarkable resilience in relation to the difficulties and obstacles and an enormous success in developing their own economies. One reason more for Africa to be much more represented in the international financial institutions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this commemorative stamp series invites us to reflect on what has been achieved worldwide since 1945, from preventing and resolving conflicts, including avoiding a third world war, to eradicating diseases and easing hunger and malnutrition, to supporting decolonization and the self-determination of peoples, to expanding education and health to vulnerable and remote communities, to advancing and defending international law and human rights, and to forge collaborative solutions to help countries build development and resilience around the world. In our world of challenge, change and division, the core promise of the United Nations, peace, justice and prosperity for all, remains as valid and urgent today as it was 8 years ago. May these stamps that Ethiopia is generously printing remind us of our shared history and also our enduring responsibility to forge a better future for Africa and for our world. And we count on Ethiopia to be one of the leading countries in this way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency.